The Chief Medical Officer for England, Chris Whitty, has warned that children's lives could be cut short because of the significant increase in obesity rates. Now, the thing is, I don't really see many obese children. I don't know where they go if there's so many of them, because figures out actually suggest that around about 28% of children in England are overweight or obese by the time they start school. That's up from 23% before the start of the coronavirus pandemic. So what can we do to get our kids in shape? And is it local authorities, children themselves, or maybe even parents who are to blame for this? So joining me to discuss this is the chef and author, better known as the inspired diabetic, Lyndon Wissart. Lyndon, thank you for joining me. Where is Lyndon? Oh, there you are.
Hi, Lyndon. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you, Lyndon. So, look, they're saying about lots of obese kids. I haven't seen many, but apparently this is something that's big is happening. What do you think that the reason is for this childhood obesity? Who do you blame?
I think with obesity, it starts from the home. I personally believe from the home, from what the parents are actually feeding their children. And I think parents have to look at what they're feeding them and why they're feeding them certain foods at the same time. So I think it's education from the home, because from me personally, I started cooking from the home, from vegetables in my mother's garden, from scallion, which is a spring onion. And I learned basic things like that, how to cut an onion, how to cut a pepper, and just eating it raw and just finding out about little things like that. And it doesn't take much time or effort to do that. So the obesity thing, I don't see it like you said. I don't really see it either.
Yeah, but Lyndon,
but
Lyndon, wasn't part of the problem that you were actually obese yourself? I mean, as an adult, as a child, you've gone through how you kind of, ate things and learnt how to cook things and stuff. But were you overweight as a child?
Not as a child. I was looking at one of my pictures the other day, school pictures, basketball. I was skinny. Back then, when I was at school, I'd done basketball, football, tennis. At our school, we've done so many activities. In the playground, we always played football. We played rounders. There's so many things that we've done during our lunch breaks, afternoon breaks as well. So I think we have to be conscious, number one, about what we're putting in our mouths, and number two, be conscious of how much exercise we're actually doing. And we also need to drink a lot more water. And a lot of people, they're afraid of drinking just plain water. So I'm saying to add some fresh lemon or fresh lime to the water, add a cucumber to the water, because these things helps with the body as well. And if a child knows, if I'm going to have a cucumber, it's going to hydrate me, it's going to help my brain function better, give them the reason to eat a fruit or vegetables which they may not like.
Well, some of the things you just said there in terms of the school playgrounds and used to play a lot and stuff. I mean, a lot of these schools don't have so much space now, and a lot of the sports that people used to do, they've all been marginalised. So, in very briefly, because we've got about 10 seconds, do you think that there should be a punishment for parents who allow their kids to become overweight?
I don't think it's a punishment, but more of an education for the parents, and not the parents not to be frightened to give their children more fruit, more vegetables, drink more water, and encourage them in that sense. And even at home, you can do exercise at home. Don't be afraid, because my daughter's 18 and she's a vegetarian now. And that's because of my lifestyle, which I changed. That is. Well,
listen, thank you so much for your view, Lyndon. It's really good to talk to you. That's Lyndon Wissart. He's the author of a book called The Inspired Diabetic. Really good to talk to you. So I've got my panel with me, broadcaster John Gaunt and Conservative commentator Joanne Nadler. Very, very briefly, before we go on to our little quick fires, Joanne, do you think that parents should be sort of blamed and punished in a sense for their children being obese? I'm
not sure that that's a particularly constructive way to go about resolving.
Well,
it's quite a complicated situation.
But they punish parents sort of if you miss days of school and things like that, and parents are often the ones who are in trouble for that. So
Well, yes, but that doesn't always work particularly well either. I mean, if you're talking about a child who'd been allowed to become clinically obese to the point of it actually creating serious health problems, then, perhaps there is a role then for local authorities or schools to be involved with the parents. But I think it's about creating, a better understanding of what is healthy. What I would very much say, though, I think it's very tough on kids that are prone to being overweight. If they put on weight as a child, it then becomes so much more difficult to lose weight in later life.
It all comes down to education. We need to educate parents. We've got a whole generation, maybe 2 generations, who don't know
People know that if you eat the wrong food...
Yeah, but they don't know how to cook, Nana. That's the difference. They've got to get back to basics, sorry to use that term, cook with real food. And we need to really crack down on, what do they call it, ultra-processed food, UPFs. Not just, the burger bars and the rest of it, the stuff in supermarkets. And I think, like Dr. Asim Malhotra says, if it's got more than 5 ingredients on the package, don't eat it.
But whose fault is it?
Make a stew.
Everything in moderation.
But ultimately, there's somebody's feeding you that food. So would you blame the parents, though, in that respect?
You're talking about going up against trillion-dollar food manufacturers' budgets. That's the fundamental problem. We need to do proper cooking in schools for boys and girls, teach them how to cook, and teach them that actually if you cook something properly yourself, you can't beat
teachers
it,
have got
and
far
it's
too much to
cheaper.
do.
There should be. There's home economics at the school that I went to. They should be taught.
I think teachers have
parents,
got way too much to do.
I'm not blaming the teachers.
No, I don't think. So whose fault? I mean, look, because let's be honest. Let's be totally brutal about this, and because I've got moving on to our quickfire debates in a moment. But if we're totally brutal about it, you've got your children. Whether you've learned to cook, whether you haven't, what you're feeding them, irrespective of what your experience is, it's your fault in the end, isn't it? As long as they haven't got a situation.
It's your responsibility. It should fundamentally be the parents'
fault. Semantics.
Well, no, I don't think it is semantic actually, because I think what we're saying is that we're trying to kind of encourage and create an environment in which people can be more constructive. But it's not just food, is it? It's the input and the output. So it's the exercise as much as
too
the
much
food.
input.
She'd have everyone locked up in fat camps.
I'll wire my kids' jaws together if they do too much. I'm not having fat kids. No, I'm joking.
You're so liberal.
I'm teasing you. No, I wouldn't obviously do that. Not without a good reason. Joking.